Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is D, and this is my review for Top Gun Maverick. I've always been fond of the original Top Gun. In all of its cheesy 80s glory, it's a satisfying movie experience, so much so that I honestly never really yearned for a sequel. The 1986 film didn't really leave any loose ends that needed to be tied up, and there seemed to be no need for a backstory-focused prequel-type movie. When I learned they were going to be doing a sequel 36 years after the original, it wasn't necessarily the movie news I had been waiting for, but my faith in Tom Cruise left me no choice but to be intrigued, and then once I saw the first full trailer, I was left no choice but to be excited. Top Gun Maverick is directed by Joseph Kosinski and stars Tom Cruise, Miles Teller, Jennifer Connelly, Val Kilmer, and John Hamm. In the movie, Pete Maverick Mitchell returns to Top Gun, this time as an instructor to a new group of young hotshot pilots, one of whom is the son of Maverick's deceased wingman, Goose. Maverick's task is to prepare these pilots for what amounts to a near impossible mission. There's no suspense to be had with this review. Top Gun Maverick does deliver. Cruise revives his role with all of the ease and confidence of a guy who's been a leading man for the past 40 years. He's an aging athlete who's still worthy of MVP votes and All-Star Game selections. I was pleased with all of the performances here, new faces included. Usually the new young faces that are introduced to a popular movie property can come off kind of annoying, but these guys and gals work well with the story and with the seasoned protagonists. The eye-catching highlights of the movie are the incredible flight sequences. Never have fighter jets looked so good on the movie screen. These action sequences really took me back to why I was so enthralled with the dogfighting scenes in the 1986 original, and just overall strengthened the reverence I have for what real-life fighter pilots can do. If you're a fan of the original film, the nostalgic vibes are heavy with this one, from the undeniable intro music to the visuals of Maverick on a speeding motorcycle with fighter jets taking off in the background. Top Gun Maverick pulls off a perfect blend of the old faithful with the fresh and new. A couple observations I wanted to be sure to talk a little bit about. It was great seeing Val Kilmer return as Iceman. His and Maverick's scene together was a powerful example of sprinkled grains from the sands of time. Again, if you loved the first film, there's no way you watch this scene and not feel something. Jennifer Connelly does well in the film, but her character is only familiar to Maverick, not the audience, since she obviously wasn't in the original movie. She's the only new face that the movie tries to treat like an old one. Basically, it feels like her character is a placeholder for Kelly McGillis's character from the 1986 film, and the fact that the movie actually pulls this off as well as it does is pretty impressive. I thought the relationship between Maverick and Rooster was refreshing. I went into the film expecting Rooster to hate Maverick and for them to constantly butt heads, arguing and fighting, and while they do have a moment of tension technically, they handle their situation in such a mature manner compared to how other films probably would have written them. Rooster never came off like a childish brat and never gave us the brooding, rebellious youngster act that so many other films would have. The movie won major points with me for that. Top Gun Maverick hits all the beats it needs to in this impressive execution of a sequel. It's a modern film that's saturated in well-done nostalgia with a feel-good ending that's consistent with the ending of the original. To be clear, outside of the amazing flight sequences and aerial visuals, this isn't necessarily a groundbreaking movie, but it flawlessly accomplished what it set out to do. Alright you guys, so that was my review for Top Gun Maverick. Highly recommended, especially for fans of the original film. Yeah, they really get this right, and it's very impressive considering it was made 30 plus years after the original. I always find it interesting when movies are able to do that. Multiple decades after the first movie, being able to make a sequel that is a good film in its own right and connects to the original and to a certain degree adds on to the original and while making sense and everything. So that's always impressive to me. Sometimes I wonder, maybe that's the key to certain sequels. You should wait longer to do a sequel as opposed to trying to rush and do it right away within a year or a few years after the original film. Though that idea does kind of compete with what studio execs probably want, because you want to capitalize off the immediate success of the first film. At least that's the idea. But from an artistic perspective, maybe there's some merit. It might be a good way to go, possibly, to wait a little bit longer or a lot longer to do sequels to some of these movies. But anyways, point being is, to me, Top Gun is a pretty much flawless sequel. I have to say flawless because I can't really point out any true negatives about this movie, or at least anything that's a negative in my opinion. And I might have maybe 80s colored, 80s tinted lenses as I look at some of it it might be some nostalgic things going on there. But when I really just look at the movie from its structure and just the characters, how everything lays out, and especially how it connects to the first film, and just everything that it does, it pulls off everything that it needs to do in this movie to make it a satisfying experience. You get to the finish line without anything really being left in the tank, and it's a very, very efficient and just well done movie. Not, like I said, not a groundbreaking movie other than the aerial stuff. All of the aerial stuff in this movie was next level. I haven't seen anything like it in a motion picture before. But outside of that, it's nothing super groundbreaking or any sort of concepts or ideas that you haven't ever seen before or anything like that. But what it sets out to do, it does pretty much perfectly. So, that's really the strongest thing to take away from this movie for me, is that it's really a flawless execution of a sequel, particularly a sequel done 3 decades after the original hit film. So that is it. Thank you for watching. I will catch you on the next go round.